Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. I'm going to start today's video with a bit of a story. We went on our club collection trip last Saturday, and after we got home, Connor emailed everyone and said that he found some ticks on his clothing and to warn everyone to check themselves for ticks. So I did. I checked my legs and I didn't see anything, so I thought all was well. And then the next night, I put my seatbelt on in my car and I felt kind of something a bit sore on my shoulder, and I could feel almost like a little bit of a bump under my t-shirt. And I thought, oh, I wonder what that is. So when I got home, I pulled down my shirt and I checked, and my wife saw a tick that was embedding itself into my skin. So it was in with the legs sticking up, and I couldn't see it because it's too low. I'll show you the spot. It's right here. There's a Band-Aid on it now. And so we read up on ticks and we got the tweezers and we tried pulling it out, but it broke off and the head was still embedded in my skin. And so there's a chance of getting Lyme disease from ticks, from tick bites. So I called the doctor the next morning and they said, yeah, come in. So I went in that morning and they took me into the doctor's office and got me to lay down, and they checked and they said, we're gonna have to cut it out. So they froze that part of my chest. They got a scalpel and they made 2 incisions. And after it took almost 10 to 15 minutes of digging, they finally got all of the tick head out of my skin here. And yeah, and that was it. And then I got a subscription for an antibiotic so I don't get Lyme disease. So that is my story I'm starting off today's video with. So if you're out collecting, be very careful. Check yourself over for ticks. I read that May and June are the highlight of the tick season. That's your highest chance of getting ticks. So they're nasty little things. So on to today's video. Today I am going to be working on my Brazilian rain tree. It has grown enormous. You can see it down there. It's taking up a lot of room in the greenhouse here, and it needs pruning back. I've got my rain tree out in the sunlight now, so you can see just how big the canopy is. Yeah, it's grown really, really well since the last time I worked on the tree. You can see the trunk is starting to muscle up. You can see some of the kind of ridges or fluting in the trunk. So that's kind of exciting to see that happening. So I did root prune this quite severely last time I repotted it, and the tree sulked for the whole summer and most of the winter, and then it started growing, and now it's recovered and growing really, really well. If I had unlimited space, I might even let this tree grow larger, thickening it up more before pruning it, but I have limited space in the greenhouse and on the benches, so I think it's large enough now that I can prune it back. I checked the playlist for this tree, and it was June of last year since I did the repotting and the top pruning. I'll get the tree on my spinning tree bonsai turntable, like that, so I can work at it from all angles. Here's a look at one of the longer branches, and you can see the natural zigzag pattern that the branches grow in, which is kind of a nice feature of the Brazilian rain tree. So I need to prune this branch back, and I'm going to go back quite far. And I always prune back to a healthy set of leaves, and I prune in between the leaf nodes. So if I were going to prune it here, I would go halfway between the leaf node and prune it off there, like that. But I'm going to go even shorter on this branch, so I'm going to go right back to, I'm just trying to see, I've got a few crisscross branches here. I could go right back to somewhere back here. So I'm looking at the direction I want my branch to grow, so I think to this leaf node. If I go back here, it's getting maybe a little too short. Maybe, I don't know. I think I'm going to go to here. Like that. So that branch is being pruned. Now make sure when you prune these branches off, you put them somewhere where you won't step on the sharp thorns on them, because the thorns are really sharp. You don't want to have an accident. So make sure you put them somewhere where you're not going to step on them. So I'm going to just kind of prune these branches back, and then I'll take an overall look at the tree and decide if I need to, you know, remove any branches, do further styling work. So here's another long one up top here. I think I'll prune that back to here. Yeah. To there. All right, I'll continue the pruning. So I'm looking, my branches, I want them to flow outwards. So I don't want, you know, branches coming and then kinking in a funny direction. So I'm trying to do directional pruning to get them to flow out so they radiate from the trunk of the tree. So you can see this branch is it goes kind of horizontal, so I want to encourage it to grow out the back here. So I'll prune it back to here. So I'm just looking for nice flow lines to the tree, keeping everything beautiful and flowing. So I'm kind of pruning it a little long at first, and then I can always reduce it back to some more of these leaves that are closer to the trunk line when I take an overall look at it. I'm being conservative at first, and then I can always prune it shorter later. Okay, so I've got the basic shape pruned back now. So I'm going to step back and have a look at the tree and decide what further branch work needs to be done. Here's a look at the front of the tree, and the front may change with time. I'm going to remove these weeds which are sticking up here and kind of blocking the view of the trunk. Okay, I think that's got all the weeds out. I can see a root growing out of the soil here. So the tree is definitely recovered quite well. I'll come out front now and have a look at the styling and see if there's any branches I need to remove. I'm thinking here, if you look in behind this branch here, this branch comes up and it has a branch to the left, one to the right, and it continues to grow up the middle here. I could take that off there to keep the height of the tree a little shorter. So I think I will. I think I'm going to take that whole upright one, and that'll keep the height of my tree down, because I can always grow it larger, but to keep it compact is a little more difficult to do. So I'm going to take it off there. So because I'm taking that off there, I want to leave, you know, quite a stub for dieback. It'll die back to these branches. So I'm going to prune it quite high to right here, taking that top off, which would make a nice cutting. Now this branch coming out front here, I want it to flow in this direction. This part of it's kind of sticking straight towards the viewer here. So I've got to redirect this branch so I don't have any growth coming this way. So I'm going to take that shoot right off, like that. I think that's okay. Now, this is a low branch, and you can see the height of it. It comes right up to the top of the canopy. So I could reduce that back. So my lowest branch, kind of the height of it's here instead of way up here. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take the top part of that off. Again, I'll leave a stub for dieback. So here I go, like that. That also gets that kind of shorter, and then these branches up here have a bit more room to grow out over this direction. So this branch here, it also kind of comes forward, which is fine, but I think I need it to subdivide maybe a little sooner. So I'm just going to prune the tip off here, shortening it a bit, and then it'll subdivide and fill in this section. I have the same thing here. You can see this branch comes up, and then I've got kind of a nice flowing branch out this way, but this one kind of doesn't flow the greatest. I also have a branch here that needs to be pruned back. I'm going to prune this one back to here, hoping to get something growing in this section of the tree. Now there isn't a lot growing in this section, so I'm wondering, instead of pruning this off, maybe I should just reduce it back. I'll try that. I'm going to reduce it back to here, like that. And then this shoot should grow out in this direction. I've got a branch here that grows kind of vertical, and I have a nicer horizontal shoot here, so I'm going to prune the top off that one, like that. Because I'm after a wide, spreading canopy on this tree. I think I'm going to take this one off a little shorter here too, back to here. Redirecting that branch so it doesn't get too tall. Now, there's a tip growing upwards here I'm going to remove to keep that branch flatter and more spreading. There's that old stub here I can remove. I'll take that off. Like that. Now, I'm looking out the back here, wondering if this branch is getting too tall here. I mean, it's not too bad. I'll just take a stub off here. I think I'll prune this part of it back, making it a little more compact. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to take the whole top off that branch and develop this one. I think that would be it doesn't really flow that well. It would eventually as it smooths out, but these two branches are pretty close to each other. But there's one here that's kind of crossing over the one above it. So this one up here. So I've got to do something about that. Take a stub off here. I'm thinking this part of the branch is okay, but this part of it kind of grows over top of the one below. So I'm thinking maybe I take that whole branch off and develop this line to the branch here. I think that's a good long-term kind of solution. So I'm going to take that whole branch off. So I'll leave a bit of room for dieback right into here. So here I go, big cut. Okay, so that solves my crisscrossing problem. But I still don't want this branch growing over top of this one. I'd rather it grow up this direction, so I'm going to take the top off that branch. I'm looking for some suitable branching here. Yeah, I think if I come in here. So here I go. The top comes off that branch. So now I can develop that branch out the back here. It's lower. Should be much better. I'm going to reduce this one back here. And I'm going to reduce this one back, taking the top off that one. Let me look from the front again. It's looking good. This one shoot here is sticking up quite high. I think I've got to prune that back to, I think to here. That's better. Not great, but I could even go back further. I think I will. I've got one facing forward here, which is nice, and one going backwards there. So I'm going to take the top off. And I probably should reduce this one too. Yeah, to here at least. Take the tip off it. And this one going out the back, it's kind of long. I'll take the tip off that one too. Actually, I'm going to take it right back to here. So that umbrella canopy's looking better. Yeah, it needs some filling in on this side. But that'll come. I'll make sure it gets good light in this direction, and it'll grow branches out this way. But yeah, I think that's about it for today. I'll give it a water now with a bit of fertilizer mixed in. All right, here I go with the water. All right, that's good. Let's fly in now and have a look at the tree. So there's a look at the trunk, and you can see the buttressed base forming on it because of the root pruning, getting those radial roots. And the trunk is definitely thickening up. It's starting to develop a nice canopy on it. Yeah, beautiful trees for bonsai, these Brazilian rain trees. They're fantastic. Here's a look at everything I took off today. So a fair amount, but I think it'll grow quite quickly now that summer is coming. It'll be exciting to see it grow. I've got 3 cuttings here that I'm going to plant in the poly house, so I'll just place them in the soil and see if they grow. Here's a beautiful butterfly on my thuja here. Hello. What a beautiful butterfly. I think that's a swallowtail of some sort. Okay, back on the thuja you go. It must have just come out of its cocoon or its chrysalid. Okay, you have a good life, little butterfly. I'm in the poly house. I have these seed trays where nothing came up in them. So I'm going to just place my Brazilian rain tree cuttings deep into the soil here. Like that. And hopefully they'll root and grow. I took some cuttings last summer off the Brazilian rain tree and they did really well. They grew. I gave them to Bonsai J. So there's another one planted, and my final one here. Just removing some lower leaves. I'll put it in right there. And give it a good watering. All right, here I go with the water. And I'll just keep them well watered, and hopefully, by the end of the summer they'll be rooted and growing well, and I can give them away to someone. The work is done on the Brazilian rain tree, so now it's time for today's updates. Let's head into the glass greenhouse. So I've got Mr. going there. And it's been working really well so far. You can see it pumping out the mist. And, when I'm done misting this area, I just kind of rotate it around, point it in a different direction, and then the next time I come out to the greenhouse, I'll rotate it again. So everything kind of gets misted in here really nicely. You can see this ficus has the water running down the trunk and the leaves are all wet. It really keeps the humidity up in the greenhouse, and it also keeps it cooler on hot days because the water I put in the bucket, which needs refilling, is cool water from the cube. So it cools the air down in the greenhouse, and I found it's been really good. So I'm very happy with it so far anyway. I have been getting aerial roots. You can see them on my large ficus microcarpa here, the one I call Fancy. So let's go down and we can look at those. So underneath here, you can see all the new aerial roots coming off of the trunk. So that's exciting to see. The misting is definitely working in the greenhouse here. It's keeping everything moist and really nice. You can see the Schefflera is growing like crazy now. All kinds of new growth on it. My hibiscus there. Yeah, everything in the greenhouse is really enjoying it out here. It's very nice for tropical trees. Let's head back to the back bench now. All the ducks are sleeping underneath the benches. Hello! Cold day out this morning, isn't it? So, let's go look at the larch forest. It's over here. So you can see I pruned it last time, and you can see all the new shoots just coming in now. So this is the second flush of growth on the larch. And you can see some of the ones that are growing quite long now. These are the ones that I didn't prune. They were probably just small little shoots developing. So it's going to need a pruning very soon. You can see there's one, a really vigorous one up in the apex there. Yeah, so lots of new growth on the larch forest. So that'll be coming soon, a pruning. My little giant sequoias are looking really good. They look a lot like a juniper, but they're not. Yeah, beautiful little trees. Very excited to have those on the go. My wind-blown flat-top Scots pine is looking quite nice. It's got all kinds of new shoots coming in, and they're nice and dense up top now. A very, very interesting tree. Yeah, the other forests are doing quite well. The Thuja forest and the Douglas firs. So this Douglas fir, I'm thinking of chopping it off here. Trying to get it more compact, this one. I think it has enough shoots out in this section that I can do that cut. So I'm going to wait till maybe, I don't know, maybe even, you know, over the winter when it's dormant. The Osage orange forest is getting very dense up top. That needs a pruning, so that'll be coming up soon. Well, our butterfly is still here. Hello, butterfly. You've got to spread these wings and learn to fly. I've got my orange tree out here. It's getting all kinds of new shoots in on it. Growing like crazy, so that's good to see. My two trees that I had in the Toronto Bonsai Society spring show and sale are looking good. They're getting fuller, leafing out again after the last pruning. Very cool. I've got the Brazilian rain tree pruned down to a more reasonable size, so I'll put it back in the greenhouse, and that's all for today. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.